The Outaouais is a funny place. It's kind of a forgotten corner of Quebec, and it has the largest number of artists per capita after Montreal of all of Quebec. There's so much going on here, but I don't think it's well known. And that border, the Ottawa Rivers, it's a bit of a barrier to the Ottawa side. I think there's a great opportunity to really get that market to know what's up here. It isn't very well known, to my mind. Hoping that this project will further that big time. You know, the idea was Modest Mussorgsky's pictures at an exhibition from the late 1800s, and I thought, with these musicians and with the studio tour, they might really go for the idea of writing compositions to complement work of the artist on the tour, and if not original compositions, find pieces that could work with the art. And I thought it could just be a really fun project.
My name is Chris Hamilton. I am an artist. I have been doing art full-time basically for the last, say, 8 years. Before that, I was trained as a scientist. I have a master's degree in science. I was a biologist, and yeah, but I guess my story is that once I had my son and I was science writing and it wasn't fulfilling, and I needed a way to express what was going on inside me as I was becoming a mother and reimagining who I was, and art became my way to do that. I'm part of the studio tour, and I know Glenn, and this was a conversation that we were hoping to connect the two groups, and we've got some amazing musicians in this community, and Chelsea and Wakefield, and through the National Arts Centre. And so the Fab wanted to become connected with us as the studio tour and as artists, and so we asked Carson and Julia were willing to make some pieces.
My name is Julia MacLaine. I'm a cellist. I play in the National Arts Centre Orchestra, and I do a lot of other fun musical projects on the side. So Collines-en-musique is an organization that brings chamber music to the Gatineau Hills with an emphasis on it being sustainable for artists. So the idea is that artists and classical musicians in the area can have work through this organization. I don't know, I feel quite privileged actually to have someone in the area who has a vision that's aligned with my own.
We gave them all of the available artists that would have a piece to show, and so I was chosen, which was really an honor. Julia's a friend of mine, but so that was nice. It was quite a compliment, and she was struck by that one, which is called Parenthood.
So this is Chris Hamilton's beautiful sculpture called Parenthood, and I was drawn to this, I guess initially just because there was so much going on, crazy base. There are all these cool, this like wire I found was, just had a lot of shapes in it, like twisting shapes, and the roots. And then, you've got an apple with a chestnut in it. You're like, what's going on with that? Okay, it's an apple tree. And then these beautiful blossoms that just look so airy and light. And so I guess the first thing that drew me to it was just that there was a lot going on. I thought, this is something that I can sit with for a long time, and I'll get a lot of different ideas from it. And so the first thing I did actually, I thought, what if I really compose according to the textures and the shapes that are here? What if I write something that's like very literal almost to what I'm seeing here, like almost like a translation of this into music? And then what will it sound like? Will it sound like in any way like the feeling we get from looking at the sculpture? And so I started with the root. I thought, okay, what if that we're actually on a staff, like a staff of music? What if this root were the shape of notes on a staff of music? What would that sound like? And so I took my cello out and I, kind of made a line that followed that curve. I thought, okay, that's kind of cool. It's low down in the cello. And then I thought, what about this one? What if can I write another line that fits with this one, but that has a slightly different contour? And that was kind of cool. And then I thought, okay, should I keep on going with this? And then at that point, it felt like the third line that I would add needed to be informed musically, not by another root. So that kind of went on through the process. I would start with something very specifically from the sculpture, and then the music would kind of demand something of itself, to be evolved musically. And so I kept on going back and forth between what the music was asking and what the sculpture was asking. And so then there's a section that feels kind of, like twirly, all these wires, going upwards in a spiral. And yeah, so the apple for me is, that's innocence, it's childhood. So there's a kind of very innocent little waltz, like almost like a music box thing that I wrote. But then the chestnut doesn't really belong, like chestnuts don't belong in apples. So then a cello line is kind of weaving in and out of that innocence, but in a way that a little bit rubs, like you sense it doesn't quite belong there, but it's also nestled in some ways. And then the piece finishes with these upward branches that the musical material is the same, comes from the material of the roots, because a tree, that's one of the beautiful things, is the mirroring of the branches and the roots. Instead of going downwards, they're going upwards, and have these little different kinds of little flourishes that are these beautiful blossoms.
So that particular one came, we can just call it a vision, came from a dream, and it was representative of my family lineage. So there's different aspects of that symbolize my two parents and me, and particularly my maternal grandmother, who really struggled with mental health, as has my mother. It's generally run through my family. And just what we can bring. As parents, we are only who we are, and many of us, we try and do our best, but we always bring in our histories and our own challenges, and we do what we can to provide what we are able for our young ones, and that can lead to some hurt, right? And so that's reflective of my sort of experience. I'm the little acorn in the middle. And Dad's the apple, Mom's the cherry tree. My grandmother is the foundation. Art is a way that I can both express, but also really dig into my own understandings, my own challenges and tensions, as I said about how I've got these conflicting things and these different aspects of my life, yet I'm one person, so how can I bring them together? It's a way that I can work stuff through. For me, art is how I do that. Because I've become a fairly spiritual person in the past few years, and I've had this conversation with a beautiful artist friend of mine. We talk about how we as artists try to just capture these huge concepts and these complicated feelings and emotions and the ineffable, right? The things that we can't put into words of the human experience, or of the spiritual experience, or of the earth experience, trying to bring it down into form so that we can share it with other people. So for me, I love how art can capture those things within us, and it's different for everyone. It's a language of the heart and the mind and the human experience. So to me, that's what art is.
Well, it's interesting. We've got music, we've got visual arts, and we've got the food side of it. And I think so foodies can discover the music and the art. The people who are in visual arts can discover the richness of the classical music we have in the region, and those who love music, brought out by these great musicians, will discover, oh my goodness, this visual art is incredible too. Let's visit the tour. 13 visual artists will be presented at the concert, 4 to 5 musicians. There's just so much going on in this region. We're finding a way to present it, to celebrate it, and to hopefully grow as a community from it.